Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Favor Amadi and I'm socially known as Favy Wavy. If this is your first time coming into this channel, you're welcome to Favy TV, where we focus on vlog, lifestyle, entertainment and all the good stuff. And if you're a returning subscriber, hi, welcome back. Today's video is quite different from my regular videos because just by the topic, I'm sure you'll be wondering, like, what are you talking about? I'm talking about something that happened to me when I was pretty young and how it pretty much shaped my life. And you guys have to bear with me because usually this is not something I ever wanted to share or ever thought I would be sitting down talking about, but I realized that it's time to talk about it just so I can feel better, I guess, and two, maybe one person out there could relate and maybe someone is going through something like this, and you know, this video is just to let you know that you're not alone in your grief or your pain or whatever situation is happening. It's also to let you know that God got you, even if it doesn't look like that. Hold on to God. The grief and pain I suffered when I was young was losing my parents, losing my mom. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my mom real quick. My mother's name is Beauty Adiba Amadi. Yes, she's from Rivers State, Nigeria. She was born into a family of 8. She was the second child and the first daughter overall, right? She was basically one of the breadwinners of her family. She worked very hard. She was a dedicated person. She was hardworking. She did not get married to my dad, unfortunately, or any other person, because I think she pretty much got married to her work because she was so dedicated. She ran so many businesses. She was a nurse. She sold cars. She owned a restaurant. She still sold like clothes. She was a business woman, an entrepreneur, and also a civilian at the same time. So she pretty much had her hands full. She did not have time to get around getting married, I guess. She had me, I don't know at what age, to be honest, but I know that she had already come up as a person when she had me. So having me was another boost to it all, to just work her ass off so she could take care of her child, which she did perfectly. We both lived in Senate Estates, Abloma, Port Harcourt, and it was the best 20 years of my life. My relationship with my mom was tricky, but it was filled with love. I said tricky because, man, we were just going at it, okay? I lived alone with my mom. She was a single parent, so we were hot-headed together because I think she could just see the reflection of herself in me, and that caused us a lot. Like, we would fight, we would argue about so many things. We just didn't see eye to eye a lot. You know, there were so many miscommunications and misunderstanding that went down between us, but we loved each other so dearly. She was my world, like the only person I learned love from or learned anything from. I got my drive from her. So we had it happening. Like, I do regret that our relationship wasn't as good. You know, when I was younger, I thought when I grew older we would begin to understand each other. So I always waited. I think I was waiting for us to get to a stage where we understand each other, and I guess that didn't come. So that was unfortunate for me. She loved her work, and sometimes I felt like she loved it more than me. And that's unfair to say, to be honest, but it's just how we felt. It's just how I felt as a little child, right? Because I only see my mom sometimes in breakfast. Like, we have breakfast together, she goes to work, I come back from school and she might not be back because she's at work or she's at her other engagements, and that just causes us to miss each other. I go to bed and she comes back late after my bedtime and I'm already sleeping till the next morning breakfast. So it was tricky. It was really tricky, but it was not perfect, but it was good because we loved each other regardless, and my mom did everything for me, and I'm still so grateful for that. So on the 26th of July 2017, I lost my mom to arthritis, stroke, and various other things that they said. But let me give you the story like I know it. So my mom was sick when I was in school. She fell ill around almost the same time I got into the university, but not so ill that it was horrible, right? She was a nurse, and you know, the one thing about nurses is they get paid to take care of everybody, but they get so overwhelmed or so into it that they forget that they're also humans and they need to take care of themselves. At least for my mom, that's how it looked and that's how it was. So she had minor issues that would come up and she would just push it aside, or she would self-medicate because, you know, well, she's a nurse and she won't go and do the proper scan or test to find out what was wrong. So when she first fell ill, it was that her leg was hurting her, and you know, my people say somebody did it, but I had to leave that narrative because it would make me really angry and it would make me want to search for the person, and I just did not want to be that person that I was going to be if I followed that narrative. So her leg was hurting her. I started from her leg, arthritis, very subtle, and it started leading up to other things like ulcer, like diabetes. And all this while I was in school, I was in Ghana. I schooled in Ghana, and when I lost my mom, I transferred to Benin Republic. So I was in Ghana, and you know, we still had that whole thing with our relationship where even when I come home for holidays, we're just arguing, and I want to leave immediately. Like, I'm not having it. Like, I at this point, I felt like I was a teenager. I don't have to deal with this. So she didn't tell me a lot about what was happening with her health. She says she had it under control, and I believed her. So almost my last year in Ghana, that was 2017, I was going to come back home for the holidays. So myself and my best friend Vicky, we came back to Nigeria. We stopped by Lagos because that was a trend that time. You come back to Nigeria, you stop by Lagos, you have a little fun, and then you go home. And both of us lived in different parts of Nigeria. She lived in Abuja and I lived in Port Harcourt, so we were going to separate. So we stayed in Lagos for like 2 days, having fun with our friends. And the day I was to come back home, I spoke with my mom that morning. I told her I was coming. I lied that I came yesterday, you know, technically, but I came 2 days before. And she was like, okay, that's fine. And she was waiting for me. And I used the bus trip. If you watched my last video, you understand why using a bus again was triggering for me a little bit, because that was the last time I used the bus trip. I used the bus trip, and that was last year. That wasn't the last time, because I still used the bus trip that year. I used the bus trip from Lagos to Port Harcourt, and at that time, you know, I didn't have like a lot of chargers and the rest, so I turned off my phone and I traveled from Lagos to Port Harcourt. Getting to Port Harcourt in the evening, I turned my phone back on, and my neighbor texted me and she was like, Mom's in the hospital. And She didn't say whose mom, so I thought it was her mom. So I called her immediately. I was like, hey, what's wrong with your mom? She's like, no, her mom's fine. My mom just got rushed to the hospital, and she doesn't know what the situation was, but it looks bad. That was just what she said. And I caught the call and I started praying. I was like, God, please, like, I cannot lose my mom. This was 2017. I just turned 20 years old. Like, I started praying, and eventually we got to Port Harcourt, and I just like rushed home. I got home immediately, dropped my box, and then I called my mom's driver as at that time, Tony. He's my uncle now, okay? He's not my mom's driver anymore. I called him and he told me the hospital he was at. It wasn't so far, so I just I sprinted. I ran to the hospital. Like, I couldn't deal. I don't even know what was running through my mind. I ran to the hospital and I saw my mom, and she had a stroke. So, and this was her second stroke. So basically she was paralyzed halfway down. Like, one arm and one leg could move, and the other arm and the other leg just couldn't move. Like, she couldn't talk. I'm sorry, I thought this was going to be easier. Okay, she couldn't talk, she couldn't say anything. She knew I was there, but she just couldn't communicate to me, and I stay imagining what she would have wanted to tell me, but I just would never know. So where they brought her to was a private hospital, and they refused to treat my mom because we didn't have any money. Because literally this was around, let's say, the 23rd of July, and the month was going to end the next week, so she had not been paid. I didn't have money. I just came back from school with my last money, and they refused. They said they were not going to do anything for her, and it was horrible. Like, they refused to treat her, and I remember just pleading with the doctor, and they were like, they can't do anything because she hasn't paid, so they can't keep her there. They couldn't even keep her. And this was like late in the night, this was in the evening. And so I took my mom to BMH, the worst hospital ever. We went to BMH. It was very late at night. It was like 11 p.m. They didn't even have any extra beds in the emergency section, because we had to go to emergency because it was literally an emergency. They didn't have any spare beds, and I remember we just had to get this iron, just raw iron, I think is what they do. I don't know what they do on that iron, but it wasn't a bed. And we put her on the iron thingy, and my mom was just lying down there. They came and they gave her everything, and I just remember, like, the doctor walked up to me that night and he was like, you need to call all your family members because there's a 50-50 chance of her making it out of this alive, and the first 50 is not so strong. I got so mad. Like, why would you tell me that? Like, aren't you supposed to do something? Aren't you supposed to fix this? I was so angry at him. I was yelling, and I just had to walk out for a minute. I went and I just started calling everybody I knew, because I didn't have money still, and my mom didn't have money because she sent me the last money she had for my transport. And we're going to be fine because we're just going to wait a week before she was going to get paid, because there was food at home too. And I was so scared. I'm so sorry. Just getting my feelings. I did not plan to get on my feelings like this. It's been 7 years, and you think it gets easier, but just having this conversation makes it makes me realize how much harder it is. I called everybody and my family couldn't come because my mom's sibling stays in the village in out of town, so they basically have to try and come the next day. I was so alone, I was so scared. I called Lodi and Lodi couldn't come that night because it was too late for her to leave her house, so she said she was going to come the next morning. And I held my mom's hand all night. I did not sleep. I was praying, I was crying, I was saying all manner of things, but she couldn't say anything back. Okay. The next morning, Lodi shows up with food and some spare clothes, and we're just there, and the condition was deteriorating seriously because I didn't even have money to buy most of the things that they told me to buy. I couldn't really afford a lot of it. I'm sorry, my light just went off. I tried to call everybody to ask them for money and it just wasn't coming. Eventually I got some money from my uncle and they had to put her on oxygen because it was getting worse, because a stroke affects your brain, right? It's literally your brain starts shutting down rapidly if nothing is done. And so they gave her oxygen, they gave her everything, and she was just lying down. Sometimes the condition will look like it's getting better, sometimes it's just not. And on the 26th of July was a Wednesday. In the morning, Lodi's mom came. She brought clothes for us because Lodi did not leave me from when she came. My friend was also there, Nisi, and Vicky was on the phone throughout. It was looking good, so I managed to eat, and myself and Lodi just went to the toilet to change, and we walked right out. Just opposite the toilet was where my mom was stationed. She was given a bed at this point. And when we walked right out, I was looking at her, and she just went up and she just came down. And that was it. That was like, I saw her last breath, and oh my goodness. And I started shouting, I started yelling, I was calling out her name. I was like, "Mommy, no." And I just walked up to her. I was like, "Mom." And immediately Lodi's mom just grabbed my hand and took me out of the hospital. Immediately she noticed what happened, and they got the doctor's attention, and she just held on to me. She did not let me go. She did not let me go. She didn't, because I was running mad. I really was. I have to get myself together. I was running crazy and she did not let go of me. I was yelling, I was asking God to do something, I was praying for a miracle, I was screaming. Some of my mom's siblings had come at that time, so we were all just there, and I just couldn't take it. I was a mess. I lost my mom. Like, it took me a while to stop blaming myself for certain things that led up to that day. I didn't stop yelling. It has just been me and my mom all my life, and I dropped her that day, and that was it. That was the end of my mom. And I couldn't believe it. I was crying. I was praying for a miracle and nothing happened. And you know what? I got mad. I got mad at myself. I got mad at everyone. I got mad at God. I was like, why would you let this happen to me? Why would you turn me into a complete orphan? Because here's the news flash. My dad is late. My dad died probably how many years ago, but that did not affect me because I did not grow up with my father, right? And I barely even knew him that much, but I knew my mother and all her people. I was so mad at God, like, why would you make me come out here and just be an orphan alone at 20? And when I tell you, I made all the wrong decisions. I was in pain. I was in a lot of pain, and I did not even grieve properly. I just started abusing substances. I remember the day after my mom died. Okay, that day my mom died, Lodi's mom took me to her house, told me to pack up all my important documents and let us leave the house. That day I joined the Hassan family. That day Lodi looked at me and she said, "You're my sister, you will stay with me." And without any questions, her parents just took me. It wasn't even like, it wasn't a conversation. That just became my family from that moment. And you know, as of then, I did not see that God had given me a family. I did not see the blessing there because I didn't see that as the miracle, because I was so mad. And I followed them. I was like, yeah, because there were so many issues around it. I couldn't go back to just my mom's people immediately just like that, because they had some issues, right? My mom and her siblings had so many underlying issues that were even above me. So I couldn't go back just immediately. I couldn't run back to the house. My mom has a house in her father's compound, because when she started making it very early in life, around my age, he gave her a property to build a house so that she would always come home to visit. Because immediately she started leaving for Port Harcourt, she just became so busy. She's a real city girl. She just became so busy that she would barely come home. So he gave her a room, and so I was expected to move into that house, but I just couldn't because I didn't know my people like that. Hell, I can't even speak my language. That's how much my mom like kind of left her people, because there were so many speculations after I was born. They were mad at her that she didn't get married. There were so many conversations that she just really avoided, so she stopped going home for a while. And I just knew then I couldn't go home. So immediately Lodi's parents took me in and they just took me to their place. It was so sad. I lived in my mom's house. I was in denial. I didn't want to have the conversation with anybody. I felt utterly alone. And even if I had support right in front of me, I couldn't see it, because the only support I have come to know my entire life was gone. Broken is an understatement. Hurt, pain, the feeling of betrayal, just hurts. And I wanted to die, but you know what, I didn't want to kill myself, because I know that if I kill myself and I go back and I see my mom in the afterlife, it's not gonna end up well for both of us. She's not gonna have it. So I just started risking my life. I can't get into details on all the things I've actually done, but 2017 to 2019, I was totally lost. totally. I thank God for Lodi's parents because they were able to at least still put a firm hand on me to make sure I graduated and I went to do my service, because I was losing it and I was not having it. I wasn't in the space to do that mentally, and they helped me to get myself back to do those things. But I was still abusing. I was still just waywarding. I was traveling. It was crazy. How pain and grief shaped my life at 20. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Our parents are really our strongholds. They are our directions in life. They are our map. They show us the way. They show us the way they came through. They show us what to do. Literally every time you could just call your parent, and I could never express how much it hurts that I can't pick up my phone right now and call my mom, because when I was in school then I used to go through a lot of depressive episodes, and I would call my mom crying and she would just talk me out of it, and I miss that. It's been 7 years since I lost my mom, and trust me, it's not been any easier. What is inspiring this video right now is the fact that today is the 26th of July 2023. So it's been exactly 7 years. I've never felt any more pain like I did. And so every year on this day, I try to do something that just reminds me of my mom. Maybe go somewhere we like, or just do something in her honor. And this year I'm making this video. So I'm not making it for pity, for somebody to come here and be like, oh my god. No, my life is good. Trust me, I'm in one of the best spaces I could be right now. My mom set me up good. That's one thing I should tell you guys. Like, my superwoman, she did it. She did it for me. She worked hard for me. So I'm making this video for anyone experiencing any kind of loss, or have experienced any kind of loss like this, of a parent, a sibling, a friend. Death is crazy. It doesn't give you any warning. It's one of the things in life we cannot control. And what's worse is the people the dead leave behind. Picking up yourself after such a thing happens, it's so hard. Finding a will to live, finding a reason to live is dreadful. But I promise you, God got you. And for God to let you go through that kind of pain, He has something big in stock for you. He has a better plan for you, and He will come through. You just got to go. You just got to believe in God. I tell you this because it's not easy. It's very hard to find the light in the darkest tunnel. I have been in the darkest tunnel. I've been so broken. I have cried. I have felt pain. Pain that has made me to feel like I could never really feel that kind of love again. But I went back to God in 2019, in 2020, during the pandemic. I had to remember my maker. I started to see, and I started to count my blessings, because my life would have gone totally differently totally differently if my family right now didn't adopt me. If I just went straight back to my mom's village to stay, I probably wouldn't be here right now. My life would have gone totally differently. I made this video to tell somebody out there that God has a plan for you, and even when it looks like he doesn't, even when it looks like he's not looking at you, he's always here. I tell you, he's always here. He will sort out whatever it is. It's just that his time is not our time, and we could never know his plans, you know. And it's hard to believe when it's really horrible, it's really going south. It's hard to believe. I don't think aside this video any of you following me will ever know that I don't have my biological parents. I don't like to use the word because I don't believe I am. I have two loving, healthy parents in Port Harcourt. They love me. They take care of me. So I don't believe I'm an orphan, because I was so fortunate to find love right where I lost it. Right where I lost my mom. I felt like my mom handed me over to Lothi's mom because she was there, she was alive till that morning when Lothi's mom came. I felt like she needed to be sure that she could hand me over. That's what we always say when we talk about this conversation, because it's deep, it's deeper than that. I felt like she needed somebody else to be there because her siblings were there. Two of my uncles were there from the Tuesday and Wednesday, but not until there was a space of her just being with Lothi's mom and, you know, me, did she leave. In that second where I came out and I saw her and Lothi's mom was just by her side, I felt like that was when she was able to do the transition. And I miss my mom. I can't even tell you. Like, if I want to tell you about my mom, I would take this whole video. She's an angel. We buried my mom 3 months after she died. Unfortunately, then we didn't have the money to do a proper burial and, you know, do the monument properly. And I hate that it took me up to 7 years, but this year, February 14th, I spent Valentine's doing my mom's monument. I would share a picture. I also planted flowers around her so she could have a little garden, you know, and she won't be so bored. And she stays with her mother, so I know she's fine. I just miss her so much, you know. That is crazy. I have a picture. I have various pictures, but I'll just never see her again. I put this picture in all my journals. I put it at the back of my journals every time. This is my mom when she was about my age. Do you see the resemblance? She's so beautiful. At the back of this, it says the best part of my life. Because she was. So, that's my story. And I hope I eventually post this, because I don't think I ever wanted to share this, but this is my channel, so I want to be real. I want to share my authentic self here and just be me. and this is me. This is my story. This is what makes me me. Beauty Amadi. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video.